think I'm here. Hi, everyone. Is anybody out there? Can you guys see me? Yay! Cool. Just make sure everything's working out good. Awesome. Okay, we're all here. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. All right. I am so glad that you guys are here. I am doing my first ever CATURDAY Q&A, AMA Q&A, same thing. Basically what I did was I get so many questions on social media and I'm not able to answer all of them because sometimes it's like a couple thousand in a day. And believe it or not, I have a lot of stuff going on. So I try to answer as many as I can, but I figured maybe this would be a good opportunity for me to answer some questions and go a little bit more in depth about a lot of the things I'm asked all the time. So what I did was I said, hey, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, what questions do you have? And then I kind of collected them. And so I have like a list of questions that I'm going to answer that a lot of people were asking. If you have a question live right now, I will try to get to some of those too. The chat is crazy. So please try to be respectful with the space in the chat. Ask a question if you have one. You can also super chat. Super chat will highlight your question at the top so that I might actually see it. And I would love to answer your questions on YouTube as well. I'm joined by a bunch of crazy kittens. I'm in the kitten room right now. So, Anya's biting my butt right now. This is Anya. Say hi. So these guys are running around like absolutely nuts. So you might see a bunch of kittens behind me. Also, I have a bunch of litter boxes next to me. So beautiful backdrop. These guys are they're litter training right now. They're doing great. But when they're litter training, I give them a lot of different litter boxes. So that's why I have a backdrop of poop boxes behind me. Okay. So the first question that I had that a ton of people asked, and I get this question a lot, is how do you deal with sleep deprivation? Because obviously I raise little kittens who are orphans, and those kittens, they need care in the middle of the night. So that's a great question. A lot of people are scared to get involved in kitten care because they think, oh, I'm going to be sleep deprived. So the way that I deal with it might surprise you. A lot of people say, oh, you probably drink a lot of coffee. And I actually do not drink any coffee. I'm not a coffee drinker at all. So the way that I deal with sleep issues and raising kittens is I actually just prepare beforehand. So I prep everything for the night. I prep all of my formula. I prep my bottles. I make sure that I have my baby wipes next to where I need them. I make sure everything's ready so that when my alarm goes off in the middle of the night, I wake up, and yes, you will want to wake up, trust me. If you think you're going to hit snooze or something like that, when a baby's depending on you, you're happy to get up and do it. So my alarm goes off and I instantly think, oh my gosh, somebody's hungry, I gotta help. But then everything is prepared already. So I pretty much get the bottle, heat it up for 8 seconds, I feed it to them, help them go to the bathroom, and I go back to sleep. It takes like no time. So it's about as disruptive of my sleep as like getting up for a glass of water in the middle of the night or getting up to go to the bathroom. It's just a couple minutes. So I'm able to go back to sleep right away. So I think a lot of people picture that it's like some huge ordeal where you wake up and you have to like prepare a whole meal and all this stuff, but it's pretty easy. The other thing that's been very helpful to me, hi Anya. The other thing that's been very helpful to me is now that I have Andrew, and Andrew is so great with the kittens too. What we do is when we have very young kittens, we try to alternate our schedules. So what we'll do is like, let's say they're on a schedule where they eat every 3 hours. I will give them their 10 o'clock meal and then I'll go to bed. But Andrew will stay up until 1 o'clock. And then Andrew will feed them at 1 o'clock, and then he'll go to bed. Then I'll wake up to do their 4 a.m. feeding, but by that point, I've been asleep for 6 hours, so it's not that hard for me to get up. And then, I can do their 7 a.m. feeding, and then I'm just awake for the day. So that is one way of doing it, where really you just have to wake up, once in the middle of the night if you have a friend that can help you, because you guys can alternate. I also think people don't realize it's only like for the very, very first few weeks of life that kittens need somebody caring for them constantly in the middle of the night like that. So, these kittens are totally weaned. I don't wake up in the middle of the night for these kittens. But even, by the time they're 4 or 5 weeks old, you're not like having to wake up every 2 hours for those kittens. It's really only if you're taking on like the tiny, tiny, tiny neonates that you have to wake up a lot. Now, coffee does help a lot of people. Andrew's a coffee drinker. I know a lot of bottle baby people are coffee drinkers. I find that coffee makes me feel weird. I have kind of the personality of someone who's already had like 6 cups of coffee anyway, so I don't have issues with sleep stuff. I am exhausted at night, and I hit the pillow and go right to bed, but I'm always happy to wake up for the little guys, especially when everything's prepped and I'm able to just do it super fast. Okay, wow, there are so many questions coming in. It's so much that it's difficult for me to see some of them, so I'll try to answer questions if I see them. If you guys do a super chat, then that will be the best way for me to definitely see them. Okay, what can I do if I'm too young to foster? This is another question I get a lot. How many of you out there are like under 18 years old, or how many of you are in middle school or in high school or maybe even elementary school? Are there kids in elementary school on here? I know there's a lot of young people on YouTube, which I love. It's a great place to learn. I'm so excited that there's so many like cat lovers out there who get to come on my channel and learn about kitties. But a lot of them don't know, what can I do for cats? And I get asked all the time, how do I convince my mom or my grandma to let me foster kittens? So yes, you can foster kittens if you are a kid. You just have to have basically your parents supervising you. So you have to get your parent or your guardian to go sign up to foster, and then they can foster the kittens, and you can be kind of an assistant and help them. That's something that a lot of kids do. I have seen even like 8-year-old kids helping with the responsibilities of kitten care, but that does require having a parent who's willing to do that with you. So even if you can't foster kittens as a kid, that's totally fine. There's other things that you can do. Some ideas that I have. One, if you're crafty, there's so many cool things that you can do. You can make, like twisted blankets, like knotted together with fleece. A lot of kids will make those blankets for their local shelter. You can make winter shelters for cats and donate those to your local TNR groups. Excuse me, Badger. Badger's biting my butt now. Why does everyone want to bite my butt? Why are you biting my butt? I know everybody probably wants to see Badger, so here's Badge. Hi! So yeah, there's a lot of different crafts that you can make for shelters. You can also make adoption posters. That's such a cool idea too, because kids, love making posters. You can print out a picture of the adoptable cats, draw on them, say, I'm available for adoption, put posters up around town. That's super helpful too. You can do fundraisers, whether you do a lemonade stand or a bake sale, or I saw somebody online that was a kid that made like little beaded bracelets and sold them for for raising money for animal rescue. I think that's amazing. There's so many things you can do like that, or even do a canned food drive at your school or at your community center. You can, put out a box and say, I'm accepting donations of cat food for the local shelter. That's going to make you feel so good when you're able to bring all that food to the shelter. And trust me, the cats need a lot of food. A lot. You can also volunteer sometimes. Some shelters, have age restrictions for, how old you have to be to do certain volunteer tasks. But they might be happy to accept you for, socializing cats, especially if you have an adult go with you. I was just in Jacksonville at the Humane Society, and they had kids there reading to the cats, which is awesome because you get to practice reading a book out loud, and the cats really like the comfort and the companionship of having somebody sitting there with them. What else? I've also seen kids do really cool school projects. A kid came up to me at my event in Chicago the other day and said she did a school project about panleukopenia, which I was like, well, there's a word that most 13-year-olds don't know, but she educated her classmates about panleuk because she watched my video about Hank. So lots of different things that kids can do. Get creative. You know, if you have a school project, consider making it about cats. If you have you know, crafting skills, like put those to use for cats. There's really any number of things you can do to help save lives. Okay, oh my gosh, there's so many people in here. Okay, I have a question on YouTube from Pepino. Hi, thank you. The question is, what was your most difficult case? That's a great question. I do take on some cases that are totally new to me. You know, obviously everybody knows Chloe, who I'll probably talk about a little bit later. Chloe was, of course, my paralyzed kitten. If you haven't watched that video, go watch it. I have like 3 videos about Chloe and how, you know, she was able to have a great life even though her back legs don't work. So that was one challenging case, but I would say probably one of the weirdest and most challenging cases I've had was I had a kitten a few years ago named Marlin, and he had a condition called atresia ani, where basically he had like no butthole. It was really, really, really small, like a coffee straw, so he couldn't poop. And I only noticed that because he was in a lot of distress, and after a couple days of having him, he wasn't pooping, and then I looked and I was like, something's really, really weird about you. So that was crazy because we had to actually do surgical procedures to create like a designer butthole for this kitten. It can be done, but I'll tell you, like, I learn something new every year. I deal with something I've never even heard of before. So that was an interesting one. I've dealt with several things like that where, you know, you kind of just, once the animal's in your care, it's hard to say, you know, no to them. You know, you want to try to figure it out. Oh my gosh, there are so many questions coming in. Okay. Yeah. So Jasmine has a question about how do you foster bottle babies with a full-time job? And she says, I feel like asking my boss would be a major inconvenience. That's a really, really good question. This is something a lot of people ask about, like, well, you know, I work full-time, and most people do work full-time. I've been doing bottle babies for almost a decade, and I've done it while working in the school district and in different nonprofit organizations. I will say, when I first started out, I snuck the kittens in. That's not what I'm advising you to do, but it is, you'd be surprised how discreet you can be with these little guys because they really make, like, no noise, and they sleep, like, 23 hours a day. So not suggesting that you sneak them in, but I am suggesting that you talk to your boss about that and say, hey, I'd like to save kittens' lives, and, you know, they are not going to be an inconvenience for X, Y, and Z reasons. You can explain, basically, they just sleep in a little box all day. They're underneath your desk, and by the time they're the age that they're running around like these guys wouldn't need to come to work with you, and that actually would be inconvenient if people, if you know, you brought, like, crazy kittens like Badger here to work. He doesn't need to go to work. He can stay at home. But if you have, like, a tiny little palm-sized neonate, yeah, they do need to be able to be with you. The other thing I'll say is if your boss is not open to that, do moms with babies. Do moms with babies, and, you know, you can do great with that. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions coming in. Ah! Okay. I'm going to try to get to as many of these as I can. Where do you get most of your supplies? I get most of my supplies, honestly, on Amazon because I'm really busy and we don't have a lot of time to go out and shop. Amazon is an awesome resource for all sorts of things, obviously. But Andrew's constantly laughing at me because it looks like Christmas on our porch all the time because I'll order like 30 boxes of food or like 10 litter boxes, and he's like, what are all these packages on the porch? So I do have on my website, if you go to kittenlady.org/supplies, you can see a list of supplies that I use on there, and there's links too. Okay, let's see. What's the best way to network foster cats for adoption? This was a question I had on Facebook and Instagram too. This is Stephanie's asking this. Ow! Badger's getting to the age where he wants to climb my back. Why you do this? Why you do this? So a lot of people ask me, okay, well, you can get adopters easily because you have a big social network. That is true, and I have to acknowledge I'm so lucky that I have that now. But I didn't always have that. I've been doing this for a long time with no social network at all. And the ways that, and actually, I made some notes about this to make sure that I tell you guys exactly all of the things that I recommend. So the first thing is I recommend taking really strong photos and writing beautiful bios for them, because you know how much the kitten is amazing, but other people don't know who this kitten is. So you want to help people be able to picture that animal in their home. If people can picture the animal in their home and they see a beautiful, crisp photo with the animal looking right at them, then they're going to be interested in adopting. So the first thing is make sure you have something to show. Beautiful photo, nice bio, cute name, all of that. The next thing is to spread that information far and wide. So not just your network of your friends, your family, and your coworkers, but beyond that. So neighborhood listservs, old school flyers, put them up in the grocery store, put them up in the coffee shop. One thing that I know is controversial that some people will say, oh, don't use Craigslist. I actually disagree. I think Craigslist is sometimes the first place that good adopters look when they are considering getting a new friend. Of course, there's also crazy people on there. So just like with anything, if you were looking for a roommate on Craigslist, you wouldn't just say yes to the first person who applied. Same thing with cats. You can put out information. You're basically just casting a wide net. Then you got to kind of weed through the people and do your adoption process. But I recommend spreading the information as far and wide as possible. Okay, let's see. Okay. Lacey just said designer butthole. Okay, thank you. Thank you guys so much for all of your questions. Okay, so I'm going to go back to some questions from Facebook and Instagram. I had a question. Let's see. Just make sure. Oh my gosh, it is so many questions, you guys. I really appreciate it. Okay. What's your favorite part of fostering? Somebody just asked. That's great. That is LPS Florence. What's your favorite part of fostering? Honestly, I think my favorite part of fostering is seeing the moment where like a really, really sick kitten passes the, they kind of pass into being a healthy kitten. Like I'm going through that with Badger right now, wherever he is. Badger he almost died like 10 different times. And now he finally, in the last like 2 weeks, is in a place where I feel like he's pretty much a normal, healthy kitten. That's definitely my favorite thing, is being able to see that like I can have an impact on a kitten who 100% would not survive without foster care. That's my favorite thing. How do you get your medical supplies? We are struggling with vet participation for discounted services. I foster neonatals of all ages. That's awesome. So medical supplies, if you are a 501c3 organization and you have a vet that you work with, you can order medical supplies through them. Obviously you don't want to be using, I don't know what medical supplies specifically you're talking about. Some things you can get online easily, things like your syringes and your sharps, your needles, certain medications, so like Panicure, Pyrantel, all of those things you can buy online over the counter. I do buy things through Roadrunner. Roadrunner is like a compounding pharmacy, but you do have to have a prescription. So I just talk to my vet that I work with about whatever I need. There's only a couple of medications that I keep in like high stock, things that I use all the time, different antibiotics and different dewormers, things like that. But definitely, you want to find a good vet that you can work with, because they're the ones who are going to be able to get supplies that you can't get over the counter. But you might be surprised how many things you can get over the counter as well. How much play and cuddle time does it take? How much play and cuddle time do you spend with the kittens per day to help them become socialized? Julie asked. That's a great question. So I spend, it depends on the time of their life. I will say when they're, under 4 weeks old, really my only focus is keeping them alive. So keep them alive, feed them, make sure that they're warm, all of that. Once they reach 1 month old, that's when I start playing with them. And I think it's important to play at least an hour a day with kittens once they're in that socialization period. So 4 weeks is when their eyesight improves, their coordination improves, they start, having a little bit of those hunting instincts coming in. And at that point, you're either going to be dealing with kittens who don't understand appropriate social behaviors and might bite ankles and things like that, or you're going to be teaching them the appropriate way of doing things like playing with toys. You can see there's tons of toys. Oh, you guys have to see this. This is, Mama Mia is nursing two of her babies right now, even though they are way too old for this. Well, actually, they're not too old, but they won't be doing this for long. Anyway, I recommend between 4 and 8 weeks of old, when they're having that critical socialization period, you need to play with them at least an hour a day, but honestly, as much as you possibly can. Okay, I have a question about why should kittens go in pairs? Because I do a lot of adopting in pairs, and you guys see that. The reason that I do that is because 2 kittens are actually half the work of 1 kitten. Might surprise you. A lot of people think, oh, I'm only ready for 1 kitten, but I say 1 kitten is way more work than 2. 2 kittens will help each other in ways that I can't describe. I mean, they love having a friend. Cats are naturally social animals unless they have not been exposed to other animals and they're an older adult cat. Every kitten loves having a friend. They benefit each other by teaching each other things. So, if one kitten doesn't know how to cover their poop, the other one will show them. They also ease the transition into a new home, so they feel, just like you feel more comfortable going to a new place if you have a friend. Same thing for kittens. They are really social, and when you have a kitten who is bored, they tend to have some of those more destructive behaviors, right? So having 2 kittens or having a multi-cat household can actually keep the cats more occupied with one another. They, keep each other company. They take their energy out on each other instead of on you, which is really great. Now, I had a question earlier on, I think, Instagram. Somebody was asking, if you're fostering a solo kitten, what should you do when it's time to adopt them out? So I'll say, first of all, every situation is different. So a home is a home, and we shouldn't, try to find the perfect home when there's so many animals. Sometimes good enough is good enough. But if you're really looking for the most perfect situation for a solo kitten, I recommend, 1, either trying to get another foster kitten that they can be adopted with, or 2, putting them in a home that already has a cat who's a little bit younger. Sometimes putting a baby kitten in a house with a senior can be a little overwhelming to the senior cat, although I've seen that when you bring 2 kittens into a home with a senior cat, the senior cat actually can enjoy that because they can do it from a distance. The kittens have each other. The senior can kind of participate as they want to. But I will adopt solo kittens out into homes that have, like a 3-year-old cat that is going to have energy, and you can kind of integrate them with each other. Okay, Che Bay asks, I have a cat I adopted 3 years ago, but she doesn't like other cats. I really want to foster. Any suggestions? That's a great question. So I have 3 cats, and my cats hate my kittens, hate my kittens. Well, Haroon doesn't hate them, but Eloise and Coco really hate them. Doesn't matter. As you can see, I'm in a room, oh my god, Mia's being so cute. I'm in a kitten room right now. I have made it so that, I have a separate space to foster, but even if you don't have a space like this, I never had a house with an extra bedroom until I moved here. So I always had them in a separate area. The cool thing about cats is cats are not aggressive to kittens usually. If they don't like them, they're just avoidant of them. So as long as you give your cat the opportunity to avoid your kittens, your cat will avoid the kittens. What that means is 2 things. 1, give the kittens a separate space, which you should do anyway. Even if you live in a studio apartment, you can stick them in a playpen, something like that. Put it in the corner, and then give your cat excess space. You can even give them more vertical space so they feel like they can get away from the kittens. All of those things are going to help your house be very peaceful. But most people who foster do have adult cats at home. Okay, I have a question, which is, which was the hardest foster to say goodbye to, and how did you cope? Well, if you've watched my YouTube channel, maybe have you guys seen my video? It's called Chloe's California Adoption Adventure. That was, without a doubt, the hardest adoption I've ever done. This was my kitten Chloe, who I had for a longer amount of time. She's kind of, Badger is sort of similar, where when I have a kitten who has some special needs, I have them for a little bit longer because I want to make sure that they're really ready for adoption. I had Chloe for, I think, 4 months or maybe even 5 months, and I was just absolutely obsessed with this cat. If I hadn't found the perfect home for her, I probably would have wanted to keep her myself. But how do I cope with saying goodbye? Well, first of all, when I find an adopter that I really like, I feel very comfortable saying goodbye to them because my goodbye is their hello. I have to remember, there are no adopters without foster parents. So I'm very happy to give somebody, the gift of this, absolutely amazing cat who I love. So I try to focus on the positive. But that was hard. If you watch the California Adoption Adventure video for Chloe, you'll see I cried. I was crying for a month leading up to that. I absolutely just loved Chloe. Okay, I have a question from Coco, the spooky librarian. I'm a librarian and I want to foster, but I'm afraid of the allergies. Do tiny kittens really cause allergies? Well, every person's allergic reaction is different. Andrew, my boyfriend, is seriously allergic to kittens, and cats, and dogs, and carrots, and apples, and life. But he deals with it. We deal with it in a couple ways. One, we have air filters in the house, so there are some really great UV air filters you can get. And then 2, he does take allergy medication. 3, he has an inhaler. And 4, I'm constantly trying to tell him to not put the kittens on his face. Although he still puts the kittens on his face. I mean, for him, a lot of the reaction is if he has claws on his skin or is burying his face in their belly, he still does it anyway. But what I would say is the only way to know how it's going to impact you personally is to try. So, maybe start with one solo kitten that's 6 weeks old. So, you can get them a home in just a couple weeks. And then if it doesn't work out, then that very quickly, and it could be a thing you did once, and you can help in other ways. But you might be surprised to find that, these kittens, they're smaller than an adult cat, so they have less dander. They have less hair going around. And if you're cleaning really well, we mop all the time and sweep all the time, then it's something that people with allergies can manage. Okay, I have a question from Christine Lee. I have 2 cats who are 1 year old who have been fostering since 8 weeks old. They were fairly feral when I took them on, and now they're semi-feral. Any tips on how I can help them get better? Been trying for a long time, but at a loss. I'm really sorry to hear that. It is challenging to have kittens, and certainly adult cats, who have feral behaviors, and to help, change some of those. Ow, Badger, come on, buddy. He's climbing me. To change some of those behaviors. I have a video on YouTube, if you look up, called How to Socialize Hissy Spitty Kittens. That is definitely more about little kittens. Since these cats sound like you've had them for a long time and maybe you can handle them, but you aren't seeing as many social behaviors as you'd like to see, I would say, just meet them where they are. It's important to meet them where they are. Don't ever force a cat to do anything they don't want to do. Some cats are just not going to want to be social, and that's okay. You can add enrichment to their environment that makes them feel more safe. So if it's a cat who is, really comfortable where they feel like a human can't get to them, put some shelving up on the walls or some platforms that they can go to where they can still be part of the family, but they feel safe. They feel like they're at a distance. Obviously, food is the greatest way to incentivize cats. My secret, favorite thing ever is Gerber baby food. If you get the Gerber turkey or Gerber chicken baby food, No cat can resist that. So if these are cats who you can kind of handle, what I would do is incentivize them using that delicious, delicious food, whatever really, really makes them happy. And then you can slowly, pet their head, do, what's comfortable for them. And over time, some of them can acclimate. I will say for older feral cats who are already feral, I don't recommend trying to socialize them. But I wish you a lot of luck, Christine. That sounds like a lot of work. Okay, so I have some more questions that I'm going to answer from Instagram and Facebook. Let's see. How do you get good vet care for neonates, especially if your shelter doesn't have a good vet? This is a question I'm asked a lot, especially by people who are kind of new foster parents with different new foster parents who are fostering for a shelter who have kittens that are sick. Sometimes people don't get the medical care that they are wishing they were getting. So I'll say if you're fostering for a shelter, you should try to follow, working with their vet and working within their system. However, if you have a kitten who you are seriously concerned about who is very, very sick, to me, kittens come first. So you can try to find a vet who you can take those kittens to. Of course, try to work with the shelter first. So when it comes to finding a good vet, this is a really, really challenging thing to me too. I have a hard time because a lot of vets don't practice pediatrics. It's not a specialization that is focused on by a lot of veterinarians. So the first thing to do is really to ask the vet, talk to them and say, hey, are you a vet that prescribes antibiotics to a 1-week-old? Are you a vet who has panleukopenia protocol for young kittens? Some of the things that you might experience with young kittens, you want to know, does your vet have experience with that? Good way to know also is, what age is your vet willing to spay and neuter? If they say 6 months, those are not vets that are used to working with kittens. Try to find also a feline-focused practice. So a lot of vets see more dogs than they do cats. A vet that sees dogs all day is maybe not going to care about a neonatal kitten. But a vet that sees cats only might have a little bit more experience working with, unfortunately, sometimes breeders will go to like the cat vets, so they might see kittens in that way. I go to a feline-only practice, and I really, really like that. So look up if there's a cat clinic or a cat vet near you. Okay, we have some more questions. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay. So if the librarian, Coco the spooky librarian, was asking when you feed them at work that it might cause allergies for patrons, how do I approach that? Well, I do not see how that could possibly be an issue for patrons because the thing that causes allergies is the saliva of the cat, which is, usually in an adult cat, they are licking themselves, it gets on the fur, and then the fur gets everywhere, and that's what people are allergic to, because there's hair everywhere that's been licked. Neonatal kittens aren't licking themselves, and don't have a lot of fur. So unless you are literally, handling the kittens on your face, you're very unlikely to have an allergic reaction to a neonatal kitten, especially if they're in a back room. So that's kind of what the conversation I would have with your employer is, that it's not going to cause an issue of allergic reaction to anyone who isn't actually physically handling the kittens. Okay, let's see. Thank you guys all so much for hanging out while I answer all these questions. It's awesome. I was talking about, what to do if your vet is not, if your shelter vet is not doing a good job of managing medical care. Well, it's hard because you don't want to backseat drive with a veterinarian, because veterinarians do have fantastic information, obviously, about cats, but a lot of them don't have experience with specific kitten issues. I would recommend finding the information if you can. Be empowered to do research, be empowered to, oh my gosh, Badger is going to step on the keyboard, to talk to other rescue organizations and other rescuers who have dealt with the issue your kitten is dealing with. And, you can politely share some of that information with them and say, hey, I'm concerned about XYZ issue with my kitten. I talked to a rescue organization that dealt with the same thing. Here's how they handled it. and just kind of try to, we have to be willing to talk about these things and be flexible and, try aggressive treatments. That's the only way we learn what works. So don't be scared to have those conversations. Okay, so I have a question from Bikendi Shark. My partner and I adopted a 9-week-old. She will bite hands in play, like we'll be playing a computer game and she'll come after our hands. Okay, so here is why that's happening. That is happening because your kitten is like firing a million neurons in their brain. They're learning how to hunt. 9 weeks old, they are learning how to hunt. So you have to think about what hunting is. Hunting starts with seeing that something is moving. The cat sees that your hand is moving and they think, oh my gosh, it's a prey item, I'm going to go after it. They're not actually thinking, that hand is attached to my human who I like, who feeds me and pets me. They're just thinking they see movement. So what I would recommend is really, really increasing the amount of time you spend not just giving them toys, but physically playing with them with toys that move. So they have lots of opportunities to chase something that is moving. When they see things that are moving, they're going to want to, hunt. And when you do that with them all the time, they're not going to be looking for as many things that are moving because they've already satisfied that need. So wand toys, feather toys, laser pointers, even there are toys that you can get that are like automated, they're moving toys with batteries that are automated. Something like that would be something I'd really recommend for you. Okay, so let's see. Okay, something that I definitely want to make sure I address because I think this was one of the main questions that I get is how can people who work with animals, whether you're a shelter employee or an animal rescuer, how can we combat compassion fatigue? If you're not familiar with compassion fatigue basically is secondary PTSD. It's something that we experience when we bear witness to trauma over and over. And I will say that this time of year when kitten season is at its peak and I'm getting messages constantly about animals who are suffering, who need help, and I know I can't do all of it, those things really do wear on me. And we all can experience compassion fatigue in this field. So I am writing a book right now. I'm really excited about it. I'm writing a book all about kitten rescue, and I have an entire chapter in it about compassion fatigue. I'm so excited to share this with you guys. But right now what I can share is that I've been doing a lot of research about compassion fatigue. I actually went to a therapist who specialized in compassion fatigue for several months a couple years ago when I was dealing with it myself. I found that to be really helpful, and there's a lot of great research about ways we can combat compassion fatigue. So there are 4 protective factors is what researchers call them. Protective factors meaning different armor that we can use to protect ourselves against compassion fatigue. The first one is self-care. This might sound really, really basic, but take care of yourself, drink water or LaCroix if you're me. Stay hydrated, feed yourself. Make sure that you have groceries in your house. Make sure you're doing meal planning so you know you're getting enough nutrition yourself, not just giving nutrition to animals. Make sure that you're taking naps. Make sure you're staying healthy. Go to the doctor if you're sick. You have to take care of yourself. Self-care is number 1 because you have to be okay in order for you to be able to take care of others. The second protective factor is detachment. That might sound really, really sad and mean, oh, why are we detaching ourselves from these animals? But it is an important part of being able to do this long term. Detachment means being willing to step back. Having hobbies that are not in animal rescue. So, going for hikes occasionally, going and doing things with friends that have no background in rescue. Read a book that has nothing to do with animals. Detaching in healthy ways so that you aren't constantly in the center of a really, really emotional thing. The third protective factor for compassion fatigue is having a sense of satisfaction. That means feeling like the work you're doing is having an impact. So it's important that you create the circumstances where you do feel like you have an impact. Some of the ways that I do that is I look at before and after pictures and I go, oh my gosh, look what I did. I celebrate when I have an adoption. I pat myself on the back and say, yeah, that was awesome. You have to feel like you're accomplishing things, and an important part of that is also setting really reasonable goals that you can meet so that when you meet them, you feel really proud of yourself. So sense of satisfaction is important. The last thing that is a protective factor against compassion fatigue is social support. I know a lot of cat people are like, oh, I only like animals, I don't like other people. But you have to be able to work with other people in order to have a sustainable way of doing rescue. So social support is a really, really important thing. Collaborate with other people, help other people, and ask them for help, because all of that makes us much stronger. Let's see, I have more questions. My cat keeps catching birds. She's not really social with our family. She's always out hunting. Oh dear. Well, it sounds like you have a cat who is outdoor or maybe indoor-outdoor. If you have a cat who's indoor-outdoor, there's lots of different ways that people have cats. And I know, especially in some parts of the world and even in some parts of the United States, having an outdoor cat is fairly common. There are some, this is very funny sounding, but there are actually some bibs that you can get that are made to prevent cats from being able to hunt outside. So I would say, your cat is taking out those hunting behaviors because that's a totally normal cat instinct. Your cat has an instinct to want to do that. But what you can do is play with them more so that they get that instinct out with you and you get to enjoy their companionship. And then also prevent them from being able to do that to the birds because we don't want them to be hurting the birds. There are some bibs, if you look up outdoor cat bibs. They basically are these brightly colored bibs that hang from their collar. And it makes it so that they're, have a hard time being sneaky, they can't really crouch, and they can't jump up and clasp their paws together. So I would recommend looking up something like that. Also, of course, make sure that they do have some kind of identification on them if they're outside. Okay, all right, we have about 15 minutes left, and I want to give everybody a chance to say hi to the kittens too. So I'll just take a couple more questions from YouTube, a couple more from Facebook and Instagram. So if you have a question, get it in now so I can definitely answer it. Okay, this is one of the big questions that I get, and this is actually, I think, the number one question when I asked social media, what question do you have, was how do you cope with the loss of a kitten? Because in this work, you do lose kittens sometimes. I think that everybody deals with grief differently, and even I deal with grief differently depending on the situation and how, what's going on in that moment. So it's important to grieve in the way that you need to grieve. But that said, it is important that you actually grieve and process and deal with what you're going through. It's normal to feel sad. It's totally okay to feel sad. I feel devastated when I lose a kitten. I allow myself to feel devastated. I cry, I vent, I scream, I go in the shower and just yell, whatever I have to do to have that cathartic release of just, sadness when that happens. But I don't let myself stay in that place. I let myself be there for, a day maybe, and then I try to channel all of those feelings into something positive. Because the fact is, the kittens that I'm able to save now, I never would have been able to save if I hadn't experienced loss in the past. So every loss I experience, I learn so much from. You learn, about how to do better next time. You learn about, other things that you could have maybe done. And that shouldn't make you feel guilty. It should just make you feel excited that in the future you'll be able to do, try different things and do better. I think it's also important to have some kind of ritual in mind when you are when you're working with animals, because, if you do lose an animal, it's helpful to have a ritual that you always do. So a lot of people were asking what happens to the animal's body when they die. It depends on the situation. It depends on, who you are and whether you're fostering alone or for an organization. My ritual is that I will do either a burial or a necropsy. If the necropsy is basically they actually go in and vets will determine what was the cause of death. If you want to do a necropsy, then it's important that you get the body of the animal to a vet right away, so that they can perform that. You can also put them, you can wrap them in a towel, put them in a bag and put it in the refrigerator so that you can kind of keep them cool until you're able to bring them to the vet. So that is one thing you can do. But if it's a kitten that I'm not doing a necropsy on, what I do is, I let myself feel very sad, I let myself feel upset, and then we do a burial in the backyard. I always bury them with something that they loved. That's just what I do. I bury them with like a toy that they loved, and I put some kind of stone or plant or shell or something on top of where the grave is. So, that's my ritual, but it can change depending on you and what feels good to you. Some people will write them a song. Some people will paint a painting of them. It's important to grieve in the way that works for you. But the most important thing that I can say is take a break afterwards, but don't stop fostering, because people who experience loss are the people who are really, really, really amazing in the future, because we've been there and we know how to deal with those situations. Okay, let's see. How do you keep your home from stinking? That's a great question. I think that it is easier to keep your home from stinking when you remove grossness than when you just try to cover it up with another smell. So I try to focus on making it less gross. I scoop the kitten's litter every day, multiple times a day. I treat the litter box kind of like I would treat a toilet, where it's like there shouldn't be any waste in the toilet and there shouldn't be any waste in the litter box, so scoop it. I use a couple different products that I really like. The Litter Genie is awesome because you can kind of like just scoop all day and put it in the Litter Genie. And I also use the Litter Robot for my adult cats. The Litter Robot is awesome because it basically scoops for you all day. So that's one thing. Also mopping. Every morning lately I've been waking up, and before I do anything else, I come out here, I sweep, and I mop. Because kittens especially, but also cats, their paws you might not be able to see it, but they have all sorts of gross stuff on their paws. So when they're walking around, they're spreading maybe, their waste or, litter or even like food and stuff like that around on their paws. So mopping that up every day, and I don't have to do I actually literally have right next to me my Swiffer, because I've been Swiffering a lot, because these guys are gross. They walk in their food, so I Swiffer all the time. I think that's better than, going around with perfume and trying to make it not stink. There are things you can do. I love scented candles and stuff like that, but I try to focus on removing the stink rather than covering it up. Okay, I have a question from Destiel Falls. My 9-week-old spayed kitten nurses on herself. Is she going to hurt herself? How can I stop her? Should I give her something besides dry food and water? Well, awesome that you just got a kitten. Thank you. And thank you for getting her spayed. That's awesome. Nursing on herself. I wonder where she is nursing on herself. If she's nursing on her incision site, then yes, that would be a problem. I don't know if she is really nursing or if she's kind of nibbling on the incision site. Sometimes it can irritate them. You do want to try to avoid that. So if your kitten is nibbling on their incision site, I would maybe, make sure that the incision site is doing okay, first of all, and then consider maybe getting an e-collar for her just while she's recovering. The e-collar is not something you do with every kitten, but it's something that you can do for them if they are, agitated by their incision site. Now, if she's just nursing on herself, she's, on her arm nursing, it's not going to hurt her to do that. You can give her something else to do it on, so a lot of kittens respond well to, a micro fleece blanket or something like that. But as long as the behavior is not hurting her, I would say it's okay. Besides dry food and water, yes, for a 9-week-old kitten, you want to be giving them wet food. Wet food is so important for cats who are adults as well. Cats really, really need that moisture content, but especially kittens. So make sure that you're feeding, if you have a young kitten, a wet kitten food, and make sure it says kitten. They need all of that fat and protein content from the kitten food, and the wet one is the best one to give them. So good luck. Julia Cat asks, when you make 3D objects for the special needs kittens, do the owners get to keep them when they're adopted? Well, in Badger's case, yes, it will get to go with him. I actually have it here in front of me. So this is Badger's 3D feeding station, which is amazing, and this is where he eats. So this is actually designed to grow with him. You can see, this is actually going to get taller with him, and this comes out, and there's actually steps that we have that can go into it, so as he gets bigger, this will grow with him. So this is actually for him to take. But Chloe, her 3D wheelchair did not go with her to her adopter because she hates it, so she doesn't use it. So that's kind of, I still actually have it in the other room. It's kind of just like a cute thing that we have here now. Okay. Oh, Mandy says, you deserve a hug and a glass of wine. Thank you. I actually don't drink, but I'll take the hug, and I'll take some seltzer. We just bought like a party pack of seltzer the other day, and I'm so happy. Thank you for your nice words. Okay. Let me make sure I'm not... Where can I take my kittens to get adopted to a good home? Well, I wouldn't recommend taking your kittens somewhere. I would recommend advertising your kittens and then finding the adopters and then bringing them to their new homes or having the adopters come to you. You don't want to just like bring them randomly anywhere and put out a box that says kittens. You want to actually, organize having an adoption process. If you have kittens who oh my gosh, so many questions are coming in. If you have kittens that are not being adopted out through an adoption organization, you could always reach out to a local rescue and say, hey, I've got these kittens, and I'm willing to hold on to them until they're adopted, but could you help me find them homes? That might be something that works for you too. Okay. Just want to make sure I got everyone. Okay. So KT Resin says, fellow cat lady here, we have 4 cats right now. Awesome. Question, how do you help to keep the litter confined in or near the litter boxes? Okay, so I think what you're asking is like, how do you not have litter spread all around your house? That's a really good question. The best tip that I have for that is to use a litter box that is high up, meaning that has like a high rim around the side of it. A lot of people get these, this is a kitten litter box. This is not what I would get for your adult cat. And even this one back here is what I have for Mama Mia. This one's okay, but before I got my litter robots, what I used with my adult cats was actually not a litter box at all. It was a big plastic tub with high ends, and then they jump in through the top. There are some litter boxes that are top opening litter boxes. Those are really great because they don't walk right out of it and get litter all over the place. They have to actually jump out of it. And the cats don't really mind those at all, especially if it's clear, they can see through it. A lot of cats have litter box behaviors because they don't like the way the litter box is. It's not big enough. It prevents them from being able to see. So I like the high-sided ones, but that are either clear or, like this one. I think you can see. Yeah, you can see. It's got high sides, but then a little area where she can go in. That's really the first thing I'd say. And then also just, sweep, maybe put a mat outside of it so that, litter can go down into the mat. They do make some mats like that. But good luck, Katie. I love that you have 4 kitties. That's awesome. Okay, just 7 minutes left. If you have any last-minute burning questions, please feel free to answer. I am going to try to hop off here at 1 because guess where I'm going today? I'm going to a kitten party for some of my former kittens. Do you guys remember Philip and Winston? Well, their family is having a kitten shower today, which is awesome. So we're going to go say hi to our little kitties and see them. They're 4 months old now. So we're going to go pop in and say hi to them. Okay, so... oh my gosh, there were still so many questions that I didn't get to answer. Let's see. I had a bunch of personal questions. Maybe I'll answer a couple of those super fast. The biggest personal question I get is, how many tattoos do you have? So this is not me being rude. This is just an honest answer. When you have as many tattoos as I have, you don't count. So a lot of people ask me that, even on the street. Hey, how many tattoos do you have? And I'm like, I don't know. How many hairs do you have on your head? I have no idea. How do you even count your tattoos when you have this many? I mean, is this one tattoo and this is one tattoo, because I don't really know. Honestly, I don't know how you count it. A lot of people count in hours of amount of time they've had, sitting in a chair getting tattooed. I have no idea how many hours I have. I just don't really count like that. But I do have tattoos on most of my body. I have a lot of them. A lot of people also ask, what do they mean? Which is another kind of funny question to me. I think that too many people watched reality shows about tattoos, and those shows make it seem like every tattoo has to have some like deep, incredible meaning. But sometimes a tattoo just means I like cats. Like this means like I like feral cats and I like friendly cats. Like that's what this means. And that's okay. Your tattoos don't have to have a bunch of meaning. Some of my tattoos do have really deep meaning that is totally personal that, is only for me to know. But it really depends. I mean, I have, this is a tattoo of a bobcat. I do have several cat tattoos. And this is a bobcat that I used to work with at a sanctuary. His name is Collins, and he's from Carolina Tiger Rescue. I absolutely love wild cats, just as much as I love domestic cats, if not more. So this is him, and I have a bunch of plants and animals from North Carolina on this arm from, my time when I was there. I really, really loved it. So that's to answer one of the personal questions that I get a lot. Okay, we have a question from Ethel Cellulose. I'm always wondering, how do your cats cope with having fosters around all the time? My cats got really nervous when we tried to foster. My cats are separated from our fosters, and I do that intentionally because I love my cats so much. They don't want to be around animals all the time. So I keep them separate, either in a playpen in the same room or in a totally different room. The room I'm in right now is only for foster animals, so my cats don't come in here. Julia Cat Animations asks, what is your main go-to vet? That is an easy one because I love my vet. If you are in the DC area, Nova Cat Clinic. They are the jam. They're like my favorite. They're so, so great. How can I teach my cat to stay away from my rodent? Grace asks. That's an interesting question. I don't know what kind of rodent you have, and I don't know if they're like free roaming, if they're running around. But I would say if you're concerned about your cat hunting another animal in your house, keep them separate. Keep them separate. Keep the, if it's, I don't know what you have. If it's a mouse, if they're in a little aquarium or whatever, put it in a place that the cat can't access. Put it high up where they cannot cannot go in there and get the animal out. And if you let them loose, keep them separate. Cats have hunting instincts, so there's nothing that we can really do about that. And, for the safety of the other animal, you do want to keep them contained. Okay. Oh, another personal question I got a lot of is, where do you get your cat dresses? Well, I'm wearing one right now. This is one of my favorite Kitten dresses. And I get my dresses from all over the place. I get them sometimes from this is actually, I got this at a cat convention. So if you go to cat events, sometimes you can find some cool stuff there. But I also get them online mostly. I get them at vintage stores sometimes. Sterling's in here. Hi, Sterling. Okay, can we just talk about Sterling for a second? Because if you guys are not following Sterling, you're messing up. So Trap King, who just commented on here, Trap King is my friend Sterling. He's in Atlanta, and he is absolutely awesome advocate for trap, neuter, return. You guys probably see me talking about TNR all the time, and it's a big part of kitten rescue, because what I say is, TNR is basically like, it is turning off the faucet that is the kitten flood. There's like a flood of kittens this time of year, and 80% of kittens are born outside. So trap, neuter, return is basically you go outside, you trap the cats in your neighborhood, you neuter them so that you don't have a billion kittens all the time. Now, I know we all love kittens, but we do not need more. Trust me, I have 13 fosters right now. Do not need more. So Sterling is awesome. If you guys are on Instagram or whatever, just look up Trap King and find him, and he does the trap, neuter, return thing all day, every day. I wish I had 6 lives to live so I could do kittens in one life and trapping in another life, and there's so many things that, so much need for different issues in cat welfare, but I'm grateful to him because he makes my job a lot easier because less kittens. So yeah. Are you going to keep this live stream on your YouTube channel? Yeah, and I would love to know. Tell me in the comments below, do you want me to do this again? Because maybe this can be like a monthly thing, like a CATURDAY AMA once a month. I really love hanging out with you guys. I get to do a lot of events where I see people in person and I get to do Q&As, but there are some people who can't make it to an event or are in another country, things like that, and I really like being able to answer your questions too. Okay. Can we see the kitties you have now? Yeah, everybody's asleep. Everybody's sleeping. Oh my god. They were like going insane before the live stream started, and I was thinking, I bet they're going to fall asleep during it. But let's say hi to a couple of them. So here's Mac. Hi, Mac. This is Mac. Mac is one of my favorite little dudes. He's got a cute little goatee, and he's just a very sweet boy. Badger, we already saw a bunch of. He's right here. Can you guys see Badger? I don't know if you can. He's right here. You can't really see him. Leanie is behind me, actually. I'll move this bed so you can see her. She's asleep. What are you doing in the middle of the floor, Leanie? Hey! Do you want to come say hi? No? Everybody's so warm today. It's kind of hot today. So everybody's like stretched out on the floor. So do you guys want to play? Do you want to show them your toy, Badgie? Well, Leanie's going under there now. So, trying to make it so you guys can see some of them. I was hoping they'd be more playful for you. Here's Anya again. Maybe I'll do some playtime with them now. Let's see. I think that's a good place since it is 1 o'clock. We'll wrap it up there, and I'll just let you guys see the kittens for a moment. If I can get them to care about playing. Do you want to play or not really? Let's see. Are you guys playful or are you sleepy? Come here. Oh, here comes Mia. So here's some of the babies. They're all very tired. So here's Anya, Badger, Leanie is back here. Where's everyone else? They're all hiding. Oh, here they come. Well, thank you guys so much for joining. If you enjoyed this, I will have the recording in my YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, I know people get so sick of like hearing, please subscribe. But I'm almost to 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, and I'm really excited about it. That is going to be a big milestone for me. So please, if you like my channel, subscribe to it. It will, it will help me a lot and help me do a lot more education around little kitten issues. So I'm going to have a new video up on my channel. My next video is about the Catcade in Chicago. Super pumped about it. Hope you guys will watch it. Thank you guys very, very much for joining. And hopefully I will do this again soon. Okay, thanks guys.